Welcome everyone to Politics 365. I'm Shahryar Afshar, your host. Today I have with us again Mr. Ebrahim Roshandel. Mr. Roshandel used to work for the government of Iran many years ago, and now he's devoted his life to ensuring that Iran enjoys a freedom that we've all come to appreciate in this country, in America, but also the Iranian community and the European and U.S. authorities are aware of all the unique dynamics and issues that surround basically having success with a complex relationship like the Islamic Republic. Our previous conversation with Mr. Roshandel was in Farsi, but we've engaged in a series of conversations that are going to be in English. So for Radio Iran, our friends in the community, please pardon us. It'll all be English because we want to make sure the American community and the American political establishment understands and appreciates the dynamics going on with Iran, with a noted expert like Mr. Roshandel, which is a rarity, someone that used to work for government and now has devoted his life to freedom for the Iranian people. So his insights are unique within the government of Iran, and the commitment and the sacrifices he's made are unique in the diaspora that we're all a part of. So, Mr. Roshandel, welcome to Politics 365 again. If you could give us a quick synopsis of your background and your kind of quick life story and what brought you to this moment, and then we'll talk about the Iranian elections, which is top of mind for a lot of people.
Thank you so much. Good morning. I'm so glad to participate in your conversation. Today you invited me. I'm so pleased to talk with your audiences and the people who are interested in to know more about Iran's current events and political system. As you mentioned already, I'm ex-Iranian diplomat, and I served until 2008, and after 2008 I got some problem with the Iran's regime through interrogation, me and my wife, and finally I ended up to leave Iran, and right now I'm living in the United States for over 16 years, and I'm trying to complete this project in fighting with Iran's regime by helping the people to organize a new and very modern opposition group. So I'm actively working with many groups, and I'm very positive that finally we will fix everything in the next step.
Thank you. You know, before we get to the Iranian elections, which just recently happened, and it's just such a mystery. I think you can look at American elections, and I'm not sure if we understand American elections any better, but when you look at all the way across the pond to Iran, it's even more of a mystery. But before we get to that, I just had a quick question. I've always been curious, you know, do you feel there were others like you that had your viewpoints inside the government of Iran back then and even now?
For this question, I have to acknowledge that since regardless of my separation from the Iran's regime, I have kept my communication very limited with some of my co-workers and my friends, and through using some different platforms, which is helping us to share our opinions, and their questions mostly is about what is the main reason I left the government, because I stopped recognizing this regime because of the brutal identity it has. So for this reason, I decided to keep this communication. In general, I can say that my communication with the political system, mainly from the State Department members, is a little bit active than other sectors like intelligence section or military section. I didn't have any connection before, but since the Massa movement started from last year, and I have participated many times in Clubhouse conversation, and I talked about everything. So they have started to know my character and my belief, and they are supporting sometimes in Clubhouse conversation or some other areas as an email or some other communication ways.
Thank you. No, I mean, I think I'm glad to hear in general there are people inside Iran that share inside the government that share your views, but they're stuck. They're working in a bureaucracy, in a political system. And I always, especially as someone that worked in local government here in the US for all my life, I always separate the bureaucrats from the politicians. Those are two different types of people. Uh, when I worked in local government, I can't tell you, I always agreed with what the mayor or the county commissioners and the local politicians did, but it was my job. I liked serving the public. I wasn't necessarily trying to promote a political agenda, but it was a job. I liked public service. I think if the world was different and we were all back in Iran, I would be working for a government because I love public service. But it was very difficult. I can imagine being a public servant or someone that likes serving the public. I'm working for a government like Iran because of their political beliefs, and then obviously their clear oppression of the people for so many years. I just want to clarify the separation between administration and political establishments. Those are two different things, because there's, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, maybe over 1 million bureaucrats that work for various government establishments, from the oil industry. You know, they're just blue collar workers that just work, but it says National Iranian Oil Company, right? So it's a nationalized service, and then from your foreign service that you're involved in to city hall, they all work for the government, but they're just employees. They're not necessarily setting policy. And that's just very difficult to understand, because when we, from the outside, look at Iran, we look at the Islamic Republic, which is a political, oppressive thing. But then over 45 years, they've had 45 years to establish all kinds of bureaucratic systems, from the street corner of local city halls to Majlis and the parliament, and of course the supreme leader and all the committees. So I just want to clarify that as a student of government. I always like to make those clarifications. So the Iranian elections, I can't say I know that the CNN has had correspondence in Iran recently after a long hiatus, but what can you tell us about the elections? I mean, what was this? Who was running for office generally, and what was the outcome, and what are the next steps?
One of the major questions I'm hearing from the people, they are not Iranian, and they are asking about the Iranian political system, to discover how this power run by the Iran's regime, policymakers, mainly Ali Khamenei as the supreme leader. Sometimes when I see some wrong analysis, I'm trying to fix everything from the basic. So one of the basic things that we have to start learning how this system, the political system, formed in 1979. When Khomeini, as the first leader, entered Iran in 1979, the first step was to create a new structure in power. The one of them is he divided Iranian political system to two sectors. One is bureaucratic or administrative sector. The other one is appointed sector. The appointed sector is some organizations and some foundations created by Khomeini. He ordered at that time, for example, the three parliaments, like elite parliament, expediency parliament, and also council guardian council. For these three things, if you look at the map on how this power scattered on the table, you will see that the appointed section is larger, more stronger, and more powerful. And for example, if you go to one of the presidents of the foundations in Iran, most of them are appointed by the IRGC members and top leaders. Each one of them is more powerful than Iranian current president. I'm not talking about the other branches, other ministries. I just want to say that this sector is accumulated all the power inside of the system, and the only things the regime successfully could present overseas or try to show that is Iran's regime is more democratic, and they try to use the election way symbolically to show that we are very democratic. And this time they try to use they utilize some electoral system to use some tricks that we are loyal to Iranian people's vote and what they will. But in fact, the most power is allocated to the section, to the appointed section,
right,
not the bureaucratic. Even people choose the best person or the best people to go to the parliament, or in also elections for presidential election.
it won't
He
matter.
doesn't have any power. No, it doesn't matter,
Right.
because
So just
Ali
so
Khamenei run the power
right,
everywhere through
right.
appointed.
So I just obviously for radio and video it's hard without props and org charts, but just for clarification for our American listeners and viewers, we have the supreme leader. We have, and then under him, if I'm correct, you have three councils. You have three appointed councils: the Expediency Council, the
Yes.
Guardian Council, and the third one is
Elite assembly,
the
elite parliament.
the parliament, basically the Majlis or Congress, as we call it, is basically.
No, this council is elite council. The
Okay.
elite council is right now in this election. Part of the election was about to choose the members of this election, 74 people, I think.
Okay.
Their job, their main job is to monitor Iranian leaders' job, and they are able to, for example, disqualify him if he is not able to do his job. But in fact,
Right.
there is nothing going to be changed. For this reason, the parliament you mentioned is one branch of Iranian system, legislative system. So it is not shared in power with these
With these three, right?
councils.
So
Yes,
so the
it's
supreme
separate.
leader and these three, and then below him, more or less, these three appointed councils, and
Yes.
then the Majlis or Congress is a different body. The president's office is a different body.
Yes.
IRGC different. So they've created all these layers of political buffer and barriers to protect and insulate themselves, and
Yes.
then every few years they have these looks like sham elections for parliament and the presidency, and they say it's an election, but it's really a very, very limited appointment process, because and this is what I want to make sure our American guests understand, out of thousands of people that may have declared their name for the presidency or the Majlis, one of these councils disqualifies them from even running. So there's no such thing as a free election for the Majlis, the Congress, or the presidency in Iran, and there hasn't been one since 1979.
Yeah, Guardian Council directly working with Ali Khamenei, and for all of these three parliaments, Ali Khamenei is the person who has to choose their president, and any people he prefer to use in the system, he brings them to dissent and try to follow his power through these three through Majlis, through parliaments. But IRGC is the other sector parallel to these three parliaments. They are running the power with Ali Khamenei. But when you come to the other three branches of the government, like executive branch, legislative, and the other part, completely it is separate, because they are in the bureaucratic sector in the system.
Right.
For those, Ali Khamenei tried to monitor all the executive sector members, from president to other ministers. But in fact, they don't have any power. I can say that I have worked in the system. I'm familiar with the system. For example, the State Department of Iran, he doesn't have any power to even criticize from anything in foreign policy issues, because Ali Khamenei is the person who share these opinions with the IRGC members and some other part in the intelligence section or secret service section, and they ordered State Department to do that. We have many things that I can give you as an example. From 1991, when Iran's IRGC members started to get involved in Bosnia and Herzegovina crisis to support Bosnians, from that time, IRGC members started to establish some small departments inside of the State Department, Iranian State Department, to represent their benefits. So for some of the countries, this process started to grow after decades and decades. And right now, if you go to Iran's State Department, you will see some small offices running by the IRGC directly, and their people also, they are working in the State Department. The basis or the small private offices they have made is one of them is monitoring Afghanistan issue, other one Iraq, Azerbaijan, Yemen, Syria, and Lebanon. Many sectors they are monitoring, and their experts is not from State Department mostly. I'm using mostly, not all of them, mostly. 70% are from IRGC members. They use casual dress, not military uniform. They come and stay in this behind their desk and start to work. And for any mission from the top as an ambassador to the expert, these people are qualified to take this job.
Right.
And they are running this job perfectly based on Ali Khamenei beliefs.
And his policy. So in the 1 minute we have left or so, I mean, so really we wanted to talk about the elections, but it really doesn't matter who's running and who gets to office. They're just cronies or people that support the regime or friends and family members of the regime. It's always been that way really since 79, even though Khomeini came to power saying, all I want is for the Shah to leave. As soon as he left, he immediately he began to form what he was promising people as a democratic government. That immediately fell apart, and Americans and really anybody else outside of Iran can study that. There's lots of different historical elements to it. So since then, all the elections have been just a theater to pretend that we have a democratic process when we don't. And most recently, the elections that did happen in Iran in March of this year are essentially a small appointment process for administration of bureaucracies, not public policy, not security. The president's office and the Majlis, maybe they can have opinions, but they don't get to have anything to say about public policy, political policy. It's the IRGC who are basically shadowing the foreign service bureaucrats in the Iranian foreign service. They're the ones that are really making important decisions. The foreign service of Iran merely is just doing protocol, handshakes, events, but not really policy. As we're nearing this end, we do want to talk more about other aspects of the structure of Iranian government. So I hope you'll come back to talk to us more. There's so much to learn from you about what's going on in Iran, and I hope we just continue this conversation. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.